All right, hello everyone. This video, hopefully I'm going to make it short, is going to be to show you how to change a fraction to percent without a calculator, and then we'll try doing it with a calculator, because some fractions some conversions of fraction to percent should be done without a calculator before we get into the harder stuff. So first of all, I just want to go, like, if you've got some fraction, say you've got 13 out of 20 or whatever, we've got to think about the factors of 100, like 1, 2, 4, 5, 10, 20, 25, 50, and 100. So if the fraction, like 13 over 20, if it is, if that denominator is a factor of 100, then we're in a good position to start, because what a percent means what out of 100. Okay, that's the definition of percent. So whenever we have these percent problems, we want to look at, well, 13 twentieths is what out of 100. Okay, and that's how we look at the problem, and then we just change it to equivalent fractions. So we go, well, 20 goes into 100, that's 5 times, so 13 has to go into 100 5 times. Okay, and so that's 65 out of 100, and 65 out of 100 is 65%. All right, so if they're fractions like that, then we're looking pretty good. 5 quarters, 5 fourths, doesn't matter if it's improper. Well, 4 is a factor of 100, so 5 over 4 is like what out of 100? 4 goes into 125 times, so 5, that's not very good working there, Mr. Riccardi. 5 is going to go in 125 times, and yes, it's bigger than 100, and that's fine. 5 times 25 is 125, and it's okay to have percents more than 100%. So that is 125%. Okay, so if you get these fractions and they're things that are with a denominator of a factor of 100, we're looking good. Okay, so we got 7/10, we got 1/5, and we can do these. 7/10 is what out of 100? That's times 10, so that's going to be times 10, and we get 70%. Okay, and 1/5, what is that out of 100, and so on and so forth. Okay, so 5 goes into 120 times, so 1 is going to be times 20. 1 times 20 is 20, and of course 20 out of 100 is 20%. Okay, and the improper fractions like 5 quarters, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what we have. We could have, that's not an improper fraction, but that one is. 21 50ths is the same as 42 over 100. All right, because 50 goes in 100 twice, and 21 is going to have to go in twice. So 42 over 100 is 42%. All right, 9 halves. Well, what is that out of 100? 2 goes in times 50. 2 goes in 150 times. So I multiply 9 times 50, and I get 450, and that means that's going to be 450%. Okay, so that's how we go from fraction to percent, and only if the denominator is a factor of 100, we can do it like that. And I'll show you how to do the next bit in a little while. And I will pause it here. Okay, so let's look at some fractions that the bottom number is not a factor of 100, like 3/8. Okay, we look at 3/8 and we go, well, 3/8 is what out of 100? Okay, well, there's different ways to do it here. So, 8 doesn't go into 100 evenly. It's just, it's not going to do it. So there's one way. Now, I don't recommend this way, because here's where maybe using a calculator could advantage us. One way is to change this 3/8 into a decimal first. Okay, now this doesn't always work. I mean, it does work, but it's not always the best way. So 3/8 means 3 divided by 8. And how we write, one way to write 3 divided by 8 is we say, that 3 divided by 8 is that 3 goes in here and 8 goes on the outside. And that is 3 divided by 8. And, then we do the long division thing, and we're going to convert this fraction to a decimal. Okay, so we're going to convert 3/8 into a decimal. It's going to be somewhere around, 3/8 is close to 4/8, so it's going to be somewhere around half. All right, so we go 8 doesn't go into 3, so we add a decimal point, we add a leading 0, we add a 0 there, and we go, well, 8 goes into 30. Now I know it's not really 30, but we just play along with me here. 8 goes into 30 3 times. No, it goes into 30 3 times. 3 times, and 8 times 3 is 24, so it'll have 6 left over. Okay, 8 goes into 30 3 times. 8 times 24 is 6 left over. I put a 6 there, and I put another 0 placeholder. And then I go 8 goes into 60. 8 goes into 60 7 times, because 8 times 7 is 56, with 4 left over. And I add another 0, and I go 8 goes into 40 5 times, with 0 left over. And so once I get that, I have, okay, 3 8 is the same as 0.375, okay, and 375 as a percent is going to be 37.5%. Okay, now it's not a quick way. Changing a fraction to a decimal, it's not the quickest way. Okay, another way of doing this, and I'm going to use technology here. Suppose I get a big fraction like this one, 91 out of 275. Well, I don't want to do any division with that. Okay, and I want to see what percent is this. Okay, that's a big scary fraction there, sort of. And I want to know 91 out of 275 is the same as what out of 100? Well, if I want to find that what, if I want to find this, what is this percent here? What I would do, mathematically, is I would, instead of divide by 100, I would multiply the other side by 100. Okay, so what this equals, this percent equals the fraction 91 over 275 times 100. And that will work every time. If we want to change a fraction to a percent, and it's a big fraction and it's not a factor of 100, we can just multiply the fraction out of 100. Multiply the fraction by 100. Now to do this, okay, I go 91 over, I use the fraction key right there, 91 over 275, okay, and I make sure the cursor is over there, and I go times 100. Okay, and I press the equal sign, 91 over 275 times 100, and I get that, and oh, I don't want a fraction, that just makes things confusing. So this button down there changes a fraction to a decimal, okay, and I just press that SD button there, and I will get, there we go, 33.09, and that's what my percent will be. It will be 33 point, I guess I should round there, 0.09%, and that's what it is to 2 decimal places. All right. So long way of doing it. We could take a fraction, convert it to a decimal, change it to a percent, which is when I change that decimal to a percent, all I do is multiply it by 100. Or I could just take the fraction and multiply it by 100 on my calculator. Okay. So 1/7 is a good example. 1/7 as a percent. 1/7 as a percent. It's actually really crazy dividing and getting a decimal equivalent. It's not pretty. Okay, so if I want to find out the percent, I could just say 1/7 times 100 times 100, and it depends on the mode of your calculator. It might already show it as a decimal. I convert and it's about 14%. 1/7 is about 14 point, I'll round that to 0.29. 0.29% to 2 decimal places. Okay, so that's how we do it. This way, yeah, a bit convoluted, decimal to percent. This way, bang it out on the calculator, no problem. And of course, let's try to do this way without a calculator for sure. Okay, so that's it. Thanks for watching.